Welcome to Worthy Work. We are back again, like I said, still in Mark 2, going through this chapter. There's so much rich stuff here, and I believe there's so many ways this applies to our everyday work. So we're reading Mark 2, 13 through 17, the calling of Levi. Once again, Jesus went out beside the lake. A large crowd came to him and began to teach them. As he walked along, he saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, I think that's how you say his name, sitting at the tax collector's booth. Follow me, Jesus told him, and Levi got up and followed him. While Jesus was having dinner at Levi's house, many tax collectors and sinners were eating with him and his disciples, for there were many who followed him. When the teachers of the law, who were Pharisees, saw him eating with the sinners and tax collectors, they asked his disciples, "Why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners?" On hearing this, Jesus said to them, "It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners." First off, I love how Jesus just butts right in. There's so many times that they're asking questions to someone else, and then all of a sudden Jesus is like, "Oh, here's the answer." And they're like, "Oh, hey, I didn't even ask you that." Or people hadn't even quite said what was on their mind, and Jesus answers it. So I think that's just really funny. But this piece of the chapter is so wonderful to me because it makes me think about back in my day when I was an intern, and I have this beautiful mentor who I still stay in touch with to this day. And she was just a phenomenal leader at a very large organization. I had the privilege to intern there when I was in college, and I was a part of this foundation. And it was lovely because it allowed me to basically have an internship in a corporate setting. And I did not grow up with a family that was in any type of corporate role. So I just never had the exposure to that world. And so this internship was phenomenal for me because it allowed me to see just a corporate culture and get to see an environment that was so new to me. This woman was especially just wonderful because she allowed me to not only intern and advocated for me, but she allowed me to kind of get to move around throughout 4 summers of my internship and really help to place and guide me in that time. Well, all that to say, I remember one time her precisely saying, as a woman leader, sometimes people just didn't really know her because there were maybe other leaders that were more at like the chief level. And whenever she was with them, she said, it'd be amazing how they would skip right over her and go right to the next person. And what I love about it, she didn't take it personally, but I love that she would share with me, do as great as you can to look for when you're in a setting, go for someone who, other people would not really think much of. And I know that's terrible to even think someone wouldn't think much of, but if you're in a room, and I think the Lord talks about this often when people come into a church, don't go and give the best seats to the one with the gold and all the things. It's so natural for humans to do that because it's like, what could I get out of the deal? And who can I go to that I think will have the most, to give me? In this case, they're talking about who they thought were sinners versus not. But we do this oftentimes. We can truly just judge people and think, I've got to go be with the righteous people or this type of person. And so I remember at a young age, she taught me just things that she had wonderful home training on around. You speak to the janitor, you speak to everybody, you speak to me. I was an intern yeah. And she took me in as if I was a leader, which I am. And she saw that. It may have not been realized at that moment, but she saw me for who I was on the inside and would take time to take me out to breakfast, to have me come into her office, to shadow her for a meeting, to connect me to someone that was way above my level, maybe even on her level or above, and would be kind enough to get me FaceTime in front of someone. I just cannot tell you how wonderful that was to see her life. And to this day, she's just, a phenomenal woman to me, a phenomenal woman and sweet on the inside. And truly, God has blessed her richly. And she just has a wonderful testimony. But certainly applying to this part of the chapter, I think it's really important that Jesus says, on hearing this, it's not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners. When we see someone in need at work, when we see someone who we think, is not up to par, can you go the extra mile to be helpful? That's exactly who God calls. And I think, our heart also. And by the way, not saying that there's any lowly or higher position. I think there's nothing greater than being a servant. There's nothing greater than being a servant of God. And so getting out of just titles and trying to think who's the best and how do I need to get airtime with someone that has power, really all of God's children are special in his sight. And so treating people like that is important. Also, the ones that you think are, not just a traditional person that is favored in everyone else's sight. Go to people like that, because if it weren't for the Lord, you would be in that position. Like I said, I was in that position as an intern, and someone cared so much for me and saw so much for me. They were able to treat me just like they treated a senior leader. And I was 17 or 18 years old with nothing to offer, just a ton of things to learn. And thank God she did that, because the lessons she taught me, I'm able to take forward and really be a servant in the work that I do every day that ultimately is making great impact and ultimately changing lives. So it's amazing. It's amazing how God looks at people. And it's amazing how I think we should also look at ourselves, because in this chapter, a lot of the folks, they're thinking, how could you sit and talk with these sinners? They don't think that they themselves are sinners. So it's like, Jesus made it clear, I came to sit with them. I came to be with them, actually. They need me, okay? You don't think you need me, but you really, really do need me. And so I think it's really important to always want to be someone that is in need of God. I need thee, oh, I need thee. Every hour I need thee. You want to need him. And I think if ever we think we don't need him, that's when we need to get on our knees. Just go straight to the ground and remind yourself you need him. You never have outgrown the goodness of God. You never have. And if you think you have, that's when the Lord says, it's not the healthy who need a doctor. I didn't come for you then, but I came for my babies over here that need me, okay? And I always want to need him, because he has so much more for me than this world could ever give. So I hope that blesses you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching Worthy Work.